On this Resurrection Sunday, God wants to resurrect what's dead in your life. The reason I know that is because 20 years ago on this very day, 420, I inhaled a Black and Mild, inhaled a blunt, took a sip of Henny, blew it all out at 4:19 p.m., turning 4:20 p.m. on 4/20/2005, and I've never gotten high or drunk since. And those drugs were destroying me for years. I don't know what's been destroying you or destroying your marriage, your finances, your ministry, your calling, your purpose in God, your relationship with your children, your business, your career, your peace, or your happiness. But I know that God can take whatever it is and turn it around, because Easter is the hallmark of Christianity, displaying once and for all that when God sees something dead, he has the power and the ability to resurrect it to fulfill his purposes. And that's why Christ was dead, but now he's alive. So question for you, what is dead in your life? What is stopping you from that life you want to live? For me, it was drugs. And I learned 3 things struggling through drugs that, as I share with you, are going to help you through your struggle to get from that dead place in your life today to that living place tomorrow. The first is for us to stop living dead, start dying to live. How many of us, for example, are just existing? In my case, I was drowning out life. I was zoning out, destroying my life in order to survive life. I was breathing, but I wasn't living. The reason is because I didn't want to face my issues. I didn't want to deal with the emotions that came up whenever I wasn't high. I wanted to engage all that, but that didn't work for me. And so Aaron had to lay Aaron down. Aaron had to stop doing what Aaron wanted so that Aaron could actually live the way he really wanted. I had to let that desire to use go. I had to quit allowing that to control my life. And although I've heard my whole life how bad sin is, yes, the consequences of sin is bad, but sin is fun. Otherwise, it wouldn't be tempting to sin. I enjoyed getting high, but at some point I decided that I enjoyed living a whole lot more. And in order to live, I had to die to all those desires. What is it in you that's stopping you from living the way God has called you to live? What is it in your life, in your character, your actions, your habits that have you living dead, coasting through life, existing? Whatever they are, what God wants to do for you on Resurrection Sunday is he wants to take those things that are stopping you from living life to the fullest through the process of you dying to self in order to live for him. Now, the second thing I learned through that drug addiction, from which I'm celebrating 20 years sober today, is to consistently give what's dead to the one who's alive. Look, quitting drugs was easy. I did it 973 times. If I had a joint for every time, a dollar for every time I flushed dope down the toilet and told God that I was not gonna do it again, I could probably put the dollars together and buy a Bitcoin with it. But I never gave in. For years, I would take it to the feet of Christ, and I would take that dead living and that drug addiction and all the pain and all the frustration, and I would lay it at the feet of Christ, and I would say, I'm taking my dead lifestyle and I'm giving it to the one who's alive. God, take this from me. I don't want this anymore. And I want to encourage you that maybe in your life before you've given it all to God and you genuinely surrendered and you repented and you gave your heart to him and you promised that you would never do it again, but you find yourself back entangled in the same struggle and the same sin. That doesn't mean you failed. It just means you figured out 500 ways how not to surrender it all. But Christ is alive and he will continue doing the work in you that he started. He won't stop. Just keep taking those dead situations, those dead sins, those dead habits, and putting it at the feet of the one who is alive, who is resurrected, who is here to give you life, who is here to empower you, and who is here to set you free. Because of all the hundreds of times I quit doing drugs on 4/20, 20 years ago, it was the last time that I quit doing drugs. You will have a last time too. You will have that moment after saying it over and over again to yourself and to others and struggling through it, where you try and then you mess up and you try and you mess up again. That moment will come when it is the final moment where you turn it over and you leave it at the feet of the one who is alive and well to help you through it today. Which leads me to the third and final point I want to make with you here on this Easter Sunday, and that is to make your dead promises their living reality. Who is there? They, the ones you promised, the parents, the children, the spouse, that best friend of yours, the one you said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to change. I'm going to quit. You know how many times I told my mom I wasn't going to get high no more? You know how many times I told God it was the last time? You know how many times I told Aaron that I would never do this again, only to break their hearts? Exactly. And I know you've done the same thing, not because you want to hurt the people you love, not because you want to keep breaking their hearts, but because you genuinely mean it. But it's a struggle, and you try and you commit, but then you mess up and they're upset, and now you beat yourself up. But today, God is putting the resurrection power in your hands to take the dead dreams that they have, those dead hopes, those dead promises that you've given them time and time again, and to turn them into a living reality. Where you walk away from this video and you put the drug down and you put the habit down and you make the commitment and you go all in and you do it. And 6 months from now, that wife is looking at you, that husband's looking at you, that child is saying, that parent is saying, I knew you had it in you. I believed in you all this time and you didn't let me down. It hurt. I need to work on forgiving you, but I've seen the changes and I am so happy that I stuck it through. That can be their reality and it can be your reality, because you have the resurrection power in your hands today on this Easter Sunday to turn your dead promises into their living reality. It's an old Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And just like through the power of Christ, I planted a tree in my life 20 years ago to this day. You, I believe, my friend, are watching this video because God wants you to plant a new tree in your life right now. So stop living dead, start dying to live. Consistently give what's dead to the one who's alive and make your dead promises their living reality.